In the early 2000s, Deutsche Bank stood as a symbol of German economic prowess. The turn of the millennium marked a golden era for the banking giant, as it emerged as a formidable player on the global financial stage. Its ambition was boundless, its reach was global, and its influence was undeniable. Deutsche Bank's growth was not just about size, but about reach and influence. Its expansion plans were ambitious, audacious even. The bank set its sights on becoming a global powerhouse, a titan of finance that would straddle the world's financial markets. It was more than just a bank. It was a symbol of Germany's economic might and its place in the world. At the heart of this expansion were the bank's investment bankers. They were the architects of Deutsche Bank's growth, the driving force behind its ambitions. They were given an unprecedented level of freedom to steer the bank's course. It was a gamble, but one that the bank's management was willing to take in their quest for global dominance. The investment bankers were given free rein to chase profits, to take risks, to push boundaries. They were the masters of the financial universe, and they played the game with a sense of invincibility. They believed that they could defy the laws of economics, that they could bend the market to their will. They were the kings and queens of finance, and they ruled with an iron fist. But as we all know, with great power comes great responsibility. And in the case of Deutsche Bank, that responsibility was not always met with the necessary caution. The bank's relentless pursuit of profits and growth came at a cost. The higher the bank climbed, the greater the risks it took. The bank's management, driven by greed and ambition, set a course that would ultimately lead to its downfall. But as the saying goes, pride comes before a fall. And for Deutsche Bank, the fall was just around the corner. As the 2000s wore on, the bank's golden era began to tarnish, setting the stage for one of the most dramatic collapses in the history of global finance. Greed began to take hold, and the quest for profit became the bank's primary focus. At the dawn of the new millennium, Deutsche Bank, once a beacon of stability and German economic prowess, began to tread a dangerous path. The allure of rapid growth and monumental profits led the bank's management to shift their focus towards riskier, high-yield investments. The reins of this transformation were handed over to the bank's investment bankers, granting them an unprecedented level of power and influence. These were the individuals who would shape the bank's new trajectory, steering it into uncharted waters. They were the architects of a new era, one characterized by high stakes, high rewards, and an insatiable hunger for more. As the bank dove deeper into the realm of speculative investments, the culture within its walls began to change. The once conservative institution started to echo with the whispers of greed. The pursuit of profit was no longer just an objective, it had become an obsession. This obsession blinded many to the inherent risks associated with their actions, as they began to disregard the very regulations designed to safeguard the bank's integrity and the interests of its customers. This culture of greed was not confined within the bank's boardroom. It trickled down to the trading floors, where the bank's investment bankers were incentivized with hefty bonuses to take on more risk. The promise of these rewards fueled their ambition, and they gambled with the bank's assets, the customers' trust, and the stability of the financial system. The bank's managers, driven by the allure of quick profits, turned a blind eye to this risky behavior. They failed to impose the necessary checks and balances, allowing their investment bankers to operate in a realm with minimal oversight and maximum freedom. As the bank's risk portfolio grew, so did the stakes. The bank, its customers, and its shareholders were all standing on the precipice of a financial abyss, teetering on the edge of a catastrophe of unprecedented proportions. Little did they know the stage was set for a financial catastrophe. In 2007, the world was hit by a financial crisis, and Deutsche Bank was right at the heart of it. The German banking giant, once a beacon of economic stability, became a symbol of unregulated greed and risk-taking. In the early 2000s, Deutsche Bank was on a quest for higher profits. The institution's managers, driven by a desire to make the bank a global powerhouse, allowed their investment bankers to take on enormous risks. These risks were often poorly understood and inadequately managed. The bank's investment arm was essentially a casino, betting billions on complex financial instruments like derivatives and collateralized debt obligations. As the housing market boomed, so did Deutsche Bank's profits. But this was a bubble, and like all bubbles, it was bound to burst. When the US housing market collapsed, so did the value of Deutsche Bank's risky investments. The bank was left holding billions in toxic assets, which led to massive losses. But the fallout from Deutsche Bank's risky behavior wasn't confined to the bank itself. The financial crisis of 2007 and 2008 was a global event, and Deutsche Bank's actions played a significant role in fueling it. The bank's losses sent shockwaves through the financial world, contributing to a downturn that affected economies all around the globe. The crisis also had a devastating impact on Deutsche Bank's customers and shareholders. Share prices plummeted and many customers lost their savings. Today, the bank's share price hovers around 10 euros, a far cry from the 60 euros it commanded 2 decades ago. And yet, despite the catastrophic fallout, some at Deutsche Bank were able to walk away from the crisis relatively unscathed. Many investment bankers, the very people whose reckless actions helped cause the crisis, continued to receive millions in bonuses. Deutsche Bank's reckless actions had far-reaching consequences. The bank's pursuit of profit at any cost led to a global financial crisis, the effects of which are still being felt today. In the aftermath of the crisis, Deutsche Bank was left in ruins. The once gleaming icon of German finance was now a sinking ship, burdened with the weight of its own greed. In the years following the financial crisis, Deutsche Bank faced a series of penalties and fines, a punishing reminder of its reckless past. The bank's transgressions had not gone unnoticed. Supervisory authorities, in their bid to uphold fairness and accountability, imposed fines that ran into the tens of billions. The penalties served as a stark testament to the extent of the bank's mismanagement and disregard for regulations. This hefty price tag was not just a monetary loss for the bank, but a serious blow to its reputation. But the financial repercussions of Deutsche Bank's actions didn't end there. The once robust share price, a symbol of the bank's strength and stability, plummeted. From a high of around 60 euros, it now hovers around a meager 10 euros. A stark contrast to the bank's golden era and a tangible sign of its precipitous fall. This decline in share price was not just numbers on a screen, it represented the hard-earned savings of countless customers and shareholders. These individuals, who had placed their trust and money in Deutsche Bank, were left to bear the brunt of the bank's greed-driven misadventures. Their investments, once promising, had now drastically dwindled in value. The bank's customers, too, felt the sting of its downfall. Once considered privileged to be associated with such a prestigious institution, they now found themselves entangled in its web of scandal and financial instability. In this bleak landscape, the towering edifice of Deutsche Bank, once a symbol of German economic prowess, was now a monument to greed and mismanagement. The aftermath of the crisis painted a grim picture, a once thriving institution left in ruins, its customers and shareholders paying the price. And so the story unfolds. A tale of unchecked ambition, of risks taken and rules broken. The once mighty Deutsche Bank had fallen. While the bank and its customers suffered, some walked away from the crisis unscathed. A bitter irony, isn't it? As Deutsche Bank spiraled into chaos, the investment bankers, the architects of the disaster, emerged from the ruins with their pockets full. Let's pull back the curtain on this spectacle of injustice. The Deutsche Bank saga is a tale of winners and losers, where the winners were the very individuals who set the stage for the bank's downfall. These investment bankers, driven by avarice and ambition, were awarded millions in bonuses, even as the bank teetered on the brink of collapse. A stark contrast to the fate of the bank's customers and shareholders, who were left to weather the storm. Imagine for a moment a ship in a tempest. The crew, responsible for steering the vessel, instead drills holes in the hull, sinking the ship while they escape in lifeboats, their pockets stuffed with gold. This is the image that comes to mind when one considers the investment bankers of Deutsche Bank during the financial crisis. As the bank sank, these bankers floated away on a sea of bonuses, leaving behind a wreckage of lost investments and shattered trust. The scale of this inequality is staggering. Shareholders watched helplessly as the share price plummeted from around 60 euros to a mere 10. Meanwhile, the investment bankers, the very individuals who steered the bank into the iceberg, sailed away with millions. This isn't just a story of financial loss, but of a moral bankruptcy that allowed such an imbalance of fortune, a system that rewarded the reckless and penalized the prudent, a world where the house always wins. But in this case, the house was not Deutsche Bank. The house was the investment bankers who gambled away the bank's assets and walked away richer. In the story of Deutsche Bank, the house always wins. But in this case, The house was the investment bankers, not the institution itself. The winners and losers are clear, but the question remains, how long will we let the house keep winning?